If you're already a parent or expecting a little one, I probably don't have to tell you how important and cherished every last minute of sleep will be to your family. And that's why today's episode is particularly cool. We're talking to Brandon Reed, father to 3 young kids and founder of Dwellspr.io. Dwellspr started as a desperate parent trying to find just the right sounds to soothe his baby to sleep. And now it's grown into so many different types of sound, from white noise to brown and green, and even sound mixes that mimic what baby hears in the womb, which is totally genius, right? We're going to talk about experimenting with what sounds can help your baby sleep longer and deeper, and also get into what parenting 3 young kids is actually like, and why prioritizing your relationship with your partner is so critical as you navigate those early years of parenthood. This is Getting Started with Baby, the podcast that brings you practical tips, loved products, and lived experience from parents who've been there. Brought to you by thestarterset.com, an upcoming service focused on helping parents find just the right things at the right time, personalized for their families. I'm your host, Jane Deshevsky, a mom on the other side of 2 under 2. I'm still actively figuring all this out, and I'm bringing you perspectives from across the parenting spectrum. By the way, if you like what you hear, leave us a review or follow the podcast to help us keep growing. Let's get into it. Welcome, Brandon.
Yeah, for sure, Jane. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here and to talk about it.
So maybe to get started, could you tell us a little bit about your background and your family?
I started professionally. I started my career at Disney for the first 10 years. And as I was there, we started a family. So back in 2018, we had our first baby. He was not sleeping, as I'm sure many listeners can relate to. And I hope I don't trigger anybody to that time in their life. But man, it was brutal. And turns out both my next babies were worse. It's like, how did that happen? The first baby was bad. We were like, oh, can't do that again. And then, oh my gosh. And he turned out to be our best sleeper. Yeah. but he was not sleeping. And so I just started poking around for options online. I've always slept to a sound. It's funny when I ask people, like, do you sleep to noise? They're like, no, just a fan. I'm like, that's a noise. I poked around at noise colors. Brown felt best to me. Cooper, my oldest, resonated with that. He liked it. And so I was like, all right. And I couldn't find anything online that was long enough for a baby to sleep to, potentially up to 12 hours, which I think maybe that was just manifesting, like trying to, it's like, no, you're going to sleep for 12 hours.
12 hours is the dream.
Yeah. And so I couldn't find anything that long. And so I was like, all right, let me just build my own. I have some background just as a hobby in some audio production stuff. And so I went into, it's a pretty simple thing to do, went in, created a digital noise, brown noise. I tweaked it to something that felt right. Brown noise is really just a deeper white noise. You remove some of those highs, introduce some of those lows. So I did what felt good, and then I posted it as a podcast of all things, and as a podcast episode. And a few weeks later, I came back to the podcast, honestly, to see how many times I had listened to it, just to look at the analytics. And a couple hundred people had hit play, and I was like, what in the world? Like, what other people are listening to 12 hours of brown noise? And from the beginning, as you mentioned, it was absolutely from the beginning, a huge swath of them were parents of young kids doing the exact same thing I was doing and trying to get their babies to sleep through the night, or at least to sleep faster, get sleep faster. They would see the title, this silly title I made. I did it with one hand, like punching as I was holding Cooper, like, oh my gosh, just cannot go to sleep. I'm building this thing, 12-hour sound machines, no loops or fades. That's what I called it. Just so straightforward. And that turned out to be a real good thing for organic growth. People would type in, all right, shoot, I forgot my sound machine at home, my baby sound machine. We're at a noisy hotel. Type it in and they see 12 hours. Oh, that's helpful. That's long enough for my baby. And they see no loops or fades. They're like, I don't know loops or fades. And so they would just hit play. I got a ton of organic traction really early. I added pink, then white. Over time, added more. People loved it and it just kept growing.
As a parent myself, you'll do anything for sleep, right?
That's right.
To get your baby to sleep. So
that's right.
Talk to me a little bit about what was that sleep like for Cooper? You mentioned it was bad. What does bad look like, and how did the noise help him?
Yeah, great question. So I will answer for Cooper specifically. It is not every kid is so different. Even all three of my kids were different and required different things. But in general, the way we market this, parents, rather young kids, is the idea of fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, because those are the two things it can help most with. Now, the way that happens, you got to figure out which sound works best for the baby and what kind of environment you're in. Are you looking for like sound masking? Are you looking for comforting and soothing? But what sounds can accomplish to help babies fall asleep faster or stay asleep longer is to fall asleep faster by soothing. You can do all sorts of things, really neat scientific things. White noise, one of the reasons it works so well is it actually mimics, you might know this, a lot of people do, but it mimics the sounds that are made in a mother's womb. So like the whooshing of the blood, and that's very familiar to them and very comforting. So white noise can be very helpful for that. We have sound machines where we mixed white noise and a heartbeat. We have actual inside the womb as a sound machine where you hear actual whooshing of blood. You hear very muffled talking in the background. You hear a heartbeat. There's no silver bullet for any single baby, but if you poke around for things that work, so we have these sound machines that are shush sound machines that just as a man doing it and a woman doing it. And I had somebody text me the other day, oh, the shush sound machine is magic for my baby. And they sent me a picture of the baby crying, and then they hit play. It was like, shh, and the baby's like, calmed down. I was like, that's why I made this. It's so great. And so if you find what works, it can be really effective. Get the baby soothed, and then to stay asleep longer. In general, that's sound masking. So that is playing sounds that keep a baby from being startled awake by external noises. So basically any sound can do that, but there are sounds that do it better. I mean, if you're in a super noisy environment, white noise is like the gold standard for sound cancellation. But I'm a huge brown noise fan. It's by far my most popular sound is brown noise. And it also does a great job finding the right noise that both resonates with your baby to soothe them and then helps with masking whatever sound is happening external to like the nursery or the pack and play or wherever you have them napping is generally what works best.
Yeah, I love all of that. That's so interesting. Because, you know, the shushing sound especially is one of the 5 things you're supposed to do
Five
to calm a
S's.
baby down. 5 S's,
Dr.
that's
Harvey
right.
Karp. Right.
You sound very familiar with that.
Oh yeah, man. Before I even made any of this, we were Harvey Karp fans because the 5S's really helped with our first baby who was super colicky, and that stuff worked. And it's funny because the shush sound machines work because you're supposed to shush and it just gets tiring, man. Like we were just shh all the time. And so if you do the things like hold the baby, you know, face down in your arm, and then you do like the side to side sway, I think it's sway or something is one of the S's. And instead of just having to shh right in their ear, you just hit play on the sound machine. It can be really helpful.
I mean, I was just thinking back to my own 5 S's. I think it's what? Swaddle, sway,
Oh boy.
stop,
Yes.
shush.
Yep.
And I'm definitely missing one of them.
Dude, you got 4 of them though. That's definitely 4 of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can attest to that. That is tiring to keep making that noise.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's interesting because as parents, one of the things you're definitely recommended to get is a white noise machine or something to provide the white noise. There's brown noise, there's pink noise, there's other kinds of noises. What are the differences between the different noises and how should people think about using them?
I love that question because it's confusing and can overwhelm people and poke around a white noise. You're going to hear all sorts of different sounds. But in general, you're going to hear very high, staticky, like a TV static, old TV static type of noise like that. In general, when you go look around at brown noise, you're not going to find that. You're going to hear different kinds of this, but you'll hear lower. Green tends to be the sound of nature. It's kind of the sound of everything. You can hear a lot of lows, a lot of highs. Green is very popular. Pink is seriously brown and white, like you can just think about it. It provides the lows, the deep lows, but you don't really you keep all of that and introduce the highs of white noise. So there's really no specific thing that's like, oh, if you're this type of person, green noise is going to work. This type of person. I have one called violet noise. That is for people who suffer from tinnitus or tinnitus, ringing in the ears. It's so high pitched to match to the lowest to the highest range of frequency of what tinnitus sufferers tend to hear in their ears when they hear ringing. And it matches that and blocks it. Part of your question was, when do which parents use which noises for which kinds of babies? Just play them. Just play them. Of course, again, not a silver bullet. You're not going to hit one thing and the baby's asleep and you're like, that one. What I see most often, white noise is very, very helpful for sound cancellation and a lot, and mimics the sound of the womb, and a lot of babies love it. But brown is so deep, so soothing, you can almost feel it in your chest. That's what my babies responded to, and where I point people.
Honestly, I'm obsessed with the fact that you have a sound that mimics the blood flow
Uh-huh.
and the muffled voice sound.
Yeah.
Because I think as many moms can attest, baby, even when you're pregnant, was most active at night when things were quiet.
Totally. Yeah, right.
So that seems
It's like clearly what put
freaking
them to sleep
genius.
was me walking around and being active and having conversations. Yeah.
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 I wish I had
Yeah.
that when I was pregnant. I would have just blasted that.
Just blasted it. Yeah. When people are just like, hey, I don't know what noise color to start with, I'll generally point them to brown noise and say white noise is also very helpful. But if people are not even familiar with noise colors and young parents come to me or new parents come to me and they say, where should I start? I'm like, inside the womb. Inside the womb sound machine, start there. That's a great place to start. Yeah.
I mean, it's genius. So I'd love to talk a little bit about your own parenting experiences. So one thing you mentioned is that you had a challenging sleep journey with Cooper, and then somehow the other two kids were even harder. So what was that like? Talk to me about what their sleep patterns were like and some of the things that you tried.
Oh man. I mean, yeah, Junia is our little girl. She's newest, and so I'm probably freshest on her. But yeah, we tried everything. One thing we did find with Cooper was that he was colic. My wife had to stop chugging hot chocolate, which is what she was doing. He was born in November, and it was like, Florida, maybe chilly for our 6 weeks we get of chili, and we were like, oh, go, 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 and then we realized he can't do milk protein. So we were so careful with our second Rowan boy, and then so careful with Junior. And it's funny to see how like Katie was just chugging milk for Cooper because we didn't know. We tried with light and dark. Most of our babies liked it totally dark, at least for the first year or so. Like no light. Rowan, he's 4 now, and through a full 2.5 years old, up multiple times a night, never really settled into it. He's still the one with nightmares who will wake up in the middle of the night. Cooper's out through the whole night now, which is great. And then Junia, our little just turned 2-year-old, is she, up until about 6 months ago, this doesn't even sound real because she's 2, but was like 6 to 8 times a night. Katie was still breastfeeding, and it was one of the hardest things we've ever endured, separately, personally, and then our marriage. It was not having the sleep was a really big deal. I would say that we never landed on, here's how we deal with this. We knew we did our best to get Junia sleeping as best as she could, did everything we could with the diet. She slept the way she slept, and we have a great counselor that has kept me and Katie on the same page. We started going after Cooper, as we were like, all right, we're about to head into something that is going to change everything. Let's make sure that we are always reconnecting and saying what's working, what isn't working. You're parenting all day long. You're giving out, 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 out. And it is very hard to have enough. At the end of the day, you both hit the pillow and you're like, how do you, it's just very hard to know what else to give, to have anything else left to give. And a counselor's been really helpful to help us stay on the same page, stay on the same team. As we had Junia, the pregnancy was our hardest pregnancy by far, her hardest pregnancy by far. And then her sleeping was the worst. And it was, I don't have any story that's like, here's how we handled it. It happened. We dealt with it. It was like one of the hardest things we've ever done.
That's so relatable. It's such a tough time if you're not sleeping. It has such a cascading impact on everything in your life. And
totally.
I mean, it's such a smart thing to do, to also carve out the time to talk about your relationship and how you're handling it, because I think that's another thing that sometimes new parents are just not prepared for, right? You know it's going to be hard. People tell you that, but the realities of not sleeping, of new responsibilities, of trying to handle all that is very, very tough.
What we said, I think probably to our counselor very early, like the way we've explained it as far as why we sought help early is like, people think people seek counseling when they're like, we're not in that much trouble yet. Like our relationship isn't that bad. And the way we explain it is, no, our relationship was not in trouble. We didn't want it to be. If you are doing well, great, get out ahead of it. Learn when you are healthy, learn how to stay healthy so you can have defensibility against those things, because it's very, very hard. And I also wanted to say about that is, I say this often to other parents, when you carry that new baby into a room, you get all of the a generation above us and beyond that are all like, oh my gosh, what I wouldn't do to trade places with you. Oh my gosh. And that's what you hear, that's what you experience. And I was prepared for this magical time of just this beautiful, of course I knew it was going to be hard, but it was going to be so much better than the hard that it's like, do you even experience the hard? And
Oh no, you experienced the hard.
You experienced the hard, and it was so hard, and it's still so hard. And I like to tell parents that it is so much harder than you think it's going to be, and it's important that you know that. So, because what I spent a long time doing, years doing, was feeling guilt for that struggle. And that kept me from the joy. Feel the unconditional core love for them. I feel that. So, okay, that's there. This is it. But why am I more hour to hour feeling like I'm freaking holding on? Years on, I will look back and I'll forget a lot of that. I'll forget a lot of those moments of immediate, like, oh my gosh, and it'll be more sweet and nostalgic. So I understand that sentiment, but don't be discouraged if in the earlier years of your parenting journey, you're feeling like, I thought there was going to be more ethereal, supernatural magic to it, because a lot of the time is not that. And that's okay. Yeah. And it doesn't mean you don't love your child. It doesn't mean you're not doing a good job. And I spent a lot of years not figuring that out and really pushing against that. So anyways.
Yeah, that's really important to say, because I think sometimes we talk about how it is hard or whatever. And sometimes you feel even guilty saying that, right? Because
totally.
The truth is, of course, there's amazing moments and you love your children so much, but like also it's
though
so much work.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
You know, it takes a lot of your energy and it takes a lot from you and your partner as well. It's a big commitment and it's beautiful and there's such joy in it as well, but
and all those things can exist at once, and they will exist at once.
They do exist,
and they're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Oh, it's an interesting thing too that you say exploring couples therapy, that it's such a good thing to do, especially if you really value your marriage and you want to make sure it's strong through this big transition. Because what's an interesting statistic that I read recently is that it's something like 85 to 90% of people in that year postpartum really experience a significant drop in relationship satisfaction.
Work to not build bad habits in those times, because that can turn from in the first year you have a dip in your relationship satisfaction to you then have this new mode of operating that is disconnected, that is misaligned, that you don't keep short accounts and you start holding grudges, and then it takes a lot of work to unwind that. So as best you can, really try to keep on top of that early so that when those trials come, you're not building the habits that then continue on past those earlier years.
When you think about parenting, because I think parents just put so much pressure on themselves to always act right or whatever too, that, you know, anyone can make mistakes in the family, right? And that because no one's going to be perfect in the family.
We will demonstrate that by, and actually Katie and I have never had this explicit conversation, but we both do this where one of us gets too upset one day, or one of us, I've had to do this a lot recently as I've been an entrepreneur now and dealing with a lot of heaviness in my business, and I'll approach that the next day. We're sitting around dinner and I'm like, you know, our kids are young, but we still try to just say things out loud and they catch what they catch. And it's like, hey guys, Dad was super distant at dinner yesterday. I know I didn't talk much. I know, Cooper, you had asked me that question 4 times before I said, oh, I'm sorry, what, bud? And that's not okay. Guys, I want to be here when I'm here. So it's important to show them that, hey, Dad made a mistake. Look, Mom still loves me. You guys still love me. I'm safe here. And eventually, you know, when they make their own decisions that are a much bigger deal than just sitting on their sister, but they'll be able to come home and be like, Mom, Dad, I made a mistake. And we can say, that's okay. And there's still love here for you. So,
yeah, that's very valuable. That's probably the most important thing we can do for the kids, right? Switching tacks a little bit, you're still in it with a 2-year-old. Very much so. You know, one of the things that we like to talk about on this podcast as well, in terms of really practical advice for parents of young kids, is that you get so inundated with advice and stuff and marketing. Were there things that you felt like were really, really helpful that you think a parent just should have in their life in those early days?
Yeah, I actually have a running list that my friends come to me all the time for various things. I'm a really big product guy. So people are always like, what about product for my dog? And I'm like, here's my list. And I have a baby list of things that were super, super game changer. I'll talk about one now, product wise, that's super helpful right now. Is we have a Wonderfold. If you've heard about that
I
magic.
have not heard of that.
Oh,
No.
what, dude?
No.
Okay, Wonderfold's it's a wagon. You've seen it. It's one of
Oh,
the big
yes.
wagons.
I have heard of it. Yes. Okay.
And we did it. We bit the bullet and did the Wonderfold, and
Mhm.
I'll never go back. It's amazing. And we live in Orlando, Florida, and Disney doesn't allow them because they're too big. But SeaWorld and Universal do, so we use them there. But it's amazing. So we have the 3 kids, and it's the 2 and 2, so they can all fit in there. And then if one of them wants to lay down, they can lay down. I call it like my command center. The sides of the thing, you can put these big stretchy nets and it just holds everything. And we love the Wonderfold and we take it everywhere we go. And Junior's getting a little bit too old for this now. Before 1.5, you could kind of keep her in there. Like we would go to, she'd be contained in there. Like she wouldn't even want to get out. She's in the seat, even without being buckled in. She's in the seat. You put some toys and snacks in there. We're at Cooper's baseball game and she hangs out in the Wonderfold rather than crawling around on the concrete. And so it's almost a pack and play. And we love the Wonderfold. That's a really, really great product that we live by. Probably the biggest game changer for us in all the products we used. There's seriously several that I stick really close to with the whole parenting journey. But if there's one I go back to probably the most, it's the Doona. It's the Doona, man. I still am not over it. Every time I collapse, I'm like, Katie, this is amazing. I don't want to get rid of it. I can't do it. The Doona forever. You still need another stroller. This is a whole nother tangent. You still need another stroller, a full-size stroller for, even with one kid, you still need a full-size stroller. But the Doona, for the purposes it serves, is just, it's magic, man.
And for those who don't know, the Doona is a collapsible stroller car seat combo.
Yes,
and
it is
extremely great for travel if you're
it is. If
a
for
family
those of you
that's on
that
the
don't know, go forth and know. Look up Doona. It's an investment. If you can figure out how to get it on your registry or something, I don't even know how much they are. I mean, we've used it through all 3 kids, and it's still great. It's dirty, so dirty, but it's structurally so sound. It's just amazing. It's this little thing, yeah, and then it goes into a stroller, and then you go whenever we see people like with it around their arm and struggling. I'm like, dude, the Doona life is so much. There's a better life for you. It's amazing. You just get the wheels, go to the grocery store, and it's awesome. We love it.
Yeah. I sort of regret not doing it because I was like, oh, I don't know, it's an extra expense and they're going to use it for such a little amount of time.
And you look at the stroller you spent $800 on, you're like, I have a stroller, and it's so hard.
So heavy and terrible. Yeah.
It's so heavy. It's so heavy. Yeah. Yes, it's heavier than a regular one. And there's not one person that hasn't said like, hey, what's been a big deal for you as a parent? And I'm like, hey, Doona. There's been one person that they haven't been like, I don't know about this thing, that I've convinced them to get it, that they have not. What I do is I tell them, I say, hey, I'm going to tell you to do this. Do it. And the day you realize that it was worth it, text me. I want to text. And every single person has been like, the Doona. And I'm like, yes, dude, it doesn't fail. I'm like 6 for 6 or something. Anybody I recommend to that does it, I'm like, text me the day you realize that this was the best advice you've gotten. And they're like, the Doona. Yeah.
That's good. That is a ringing endorsement.
Yeah.
What about something that you think sometimes parents get, but they probably don't need? Or even something that you got that you were like, why'd I get this?
We got this is just our family. I don't know, maybe it works for some families really well. There's those reusable wipes containers that they are plastic and you refill them. And we're like, oh, awesome. You don't always have that plastic thing going around in your bag, and it's much cleaner and it looks much cleaner aesthetically. We really like the idea. And I don't know, a month in, we're just like, throw the freaking bag in there and just use the bag of wipes. I'm not opening the separate container and refilling. So
like not an extra step you need.
No extra steps. Ruthless elimination of extra steps. Yeah. And so we thought that was great. Got several of them for our bag and our stroller, and then just never used them.
Yeah, that's a good one to keep in mind. You're not going to want to refill anything extra. There's enough to do. What about for you? What's next for you and for Dwellspr? Anything you'd want to share?
Yeah, I mean, we are actively really excited about the next steps of Dwellspr and actively building it. We are, of course, improving the app itself, the product. The podcast continues to exist. You can still find it. But Dwellspr is really the cornerstone of the company and where things are headed. We are growing into the B2B space. We are, business to consumer now in the app sort of stuff. But we are actively looking at how do we talk to companies about offering Dwellspr as a part of employee benefits packages for people that care about their employees sleeping better and coming to work less distracted, working more focused. And I'm excited about that expansion and what that can look like. I think that's a real opportunity for the company. We're excited about that. And what's next is B2B expansion and then further feature development within the product itself. That's the immediate next steps.
Yeah, amazing. And what about if you had one takeaway you'd want parents to take away from all this? Anything you'd want to leave people with?
Get on the same page as your partner and early. Figure out, we say this all the time. I mean, it's not like a revolutionary insight, but we just say same team. We always say that. We're like, Katie, same team. If we're fighting for if we have no problem with each other, but something's just stressing us out and we end up being contentious towards each other, sometimes one will look at the other and be like, same team. And you're like, you're right. Freaking same team. Like, we're on the same team. Don't let them do this to us.
They're on their own team.
They do not pit us against each other. Like they always try to. And so stay on the same team. And I would highly recommend, if it's the right fit for you and your family and financially feasible. I know it's a privilege to be able to pay for extra things like counseling, but if you can do that, seek that out and get help to help you figure out what that team is, how you guys both work. So how you stay on the same team, how you care well for one another, because you'll need those things, because parenting in its beauty and its worthwhileness, everything pushes you to your limits. So like, make sure you figure out how to stay on the same team as your partner.
Yeah, that's really golden advice, and something that I feel like people don't spend as much time thinking about before the baby arrives as they probably should. So thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation, and I appreciate you sharing so much so honestly about what the experience is like. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review or follow the podcast to stay up to date on new episodes. Know someone else who could use this episode? Please pass it on. Interested to hear more or get in touch with Brandon? You can check out so many sounds or even mix your own at dwellspr.io, as well as follow dwellspr.io on Instagram. Links in the episode description. Have topics you'd like us to cover? Find us on Instagram at thestarterset_baby or reach out via info@thestarterset.com. Thank you for listening. Till next